Hi, my name's Graham Hendra. I'm the Technical Director here at Freedom Heat Pumps, and today I'm here to talk to you about the Midea range of air source units, which we have hidden under this cardboard box. I want to talk about its features and things we like about it. So the first question we get asked when we mention that we're doing this range of units is, who is this brand? Who are Midea? Because people haven't heard of them. Midea started in 1968 in China. They're a big Chinese manufacturer. They make vacuum cleaners, cookers, kettles, washing machines, so all sorts of kitchen and home appliances. And in 1985, they opened their air conditioning business and started making cooling devices. They employ 135,000 people. In their air conditioning division, they make 40 million units per year, and in Europe, 1 in 5 air conditioning and heat pump systems is made by these guys. You've probably come into contact with their products in the past. They're specialists in white labelling equipment, so quite often they'll make the equipment and other manufacturers will put their sticker on them, so it's very likely that you've seen this kit. But this brand is becoming much more high profile now in Europe. For instance, sponsoring football clubs like Manchester City has raised their profile enormously. So watch this space, you're going to hear a lot more from Midea. Back in summer 2020, we were approached by Midea and asked whether we would be interested in taking their range of heat pumps. And it's very flattering as a distributor to be asked this kind of thing and see if we want to sell the product. But Midea did something that is very odd compared to other manufacturers. They just delivered me one of these. So I opened the warehouse door and here it was. And the idea was that we would connect it up. I'd get my technical engineers to rip it to pieces, look inside and see what we thought of the unit before we actually started buying. Try before you buy, if you will. That kind of marketing works very well with us. We like to get our hands on the units. The initial idea with the Midea product was we were going to use this as our budget unit and supply it to people who didn't want to pay the price premium that some of the other brands attract. But what we noticed as soon as we took the lid off is that this is no budget unit. It comes with a 10-year warranty, it's MCS accredited, it's on the SAP-Q database. All of the units in the range are running using R32 refrigerant, which means that we can effortlessly give you water for your hot water and your heating up to 55 degrees C, even in the coldest of weather that we experience here in the UK. So the first thing when you come into contact with a Midea unit is just how well packaged it is. Once you've taken the cardboard box off, you find that there's a lovely protective cover over the coil to stop the fins getting bruised. You notice that the remote controller is attached to the unit, as is the tank sensor. The beauty with the Midea is that all of the optional extras come in the box. So there's nothing to forget when you order it, making you have less mistakes when the unit arrives on site. So the unit comes delivered on a steel plinth, which you can see it's bolted to. This has two functions. One is it's structural, so it holds the whole system together and makes it very rigid. But it also lifts the unit 100 millimeters off the ground. So there's no need on this unit to have feet or anything to support it off the ground. It sits straight down, as you can see here, which makes it simple to install. So there are really two types of heat pumps available on the market today. There are those of them which come with most of the plumbing components inside, which is what this machine has, hence the slightly longer casing. So inside here you have a pump, you have a filter, flow switch, making life very easy for the heating engineer because lots of the plumbing is done for them. The other type of heat pumps that you see on the market, these components are installed in the house by the heating engineer himself. So this is easier to plumb, but it's more difficult to wire because the electrician needs to bring more cables out to the unit. Our first impression when we opened this was it's quite a large unit. So we're used to systems which don't have this extra section on the end. So this for us was a little bit bigger. But then we realized, if you look at the model number, that this machine here is actually a 16 kilowatt unit. Typically in our industry, a 16 kilowatt unit would be double height, in the sort of tombstone style with 2 fans. So more tall and thin to this one's short and fat. So this range of machines is available from 4 up to 16 kilowatts. There's little baby units, the 4 and the 6 kilowatt. It's about 75% of the size of this one, but this is the machine that you will see in the 8 to 16 range, all the same size. One of the things that's really clear when you look at this Midea unit is the engineers have clearly looked at other machines available on the market, what the best features are, what should be used when they make this one. And an example of that would be how they've managed to get that 16 kilowatts out of a unit of this size with only a single fan. And really, if you look into it, this kind of represents the next generation of air source heat pumps. So you'd expect me to tell you that this machine is perfect and has no flaws, but that isn't really my way. So one of the things that we picked up with this unit right from the beginning is when you remove the front cover to get to the electrics panel and you slide it down, the cover doesn't come off because of this bolt here. So you need to remove this bolt with your little socket set before you can get the cover off. This is something we went back to the factory in China and said, if we remove the washer, we wouldn't need to take this bolt off. So they tell us on the next generation of this unit, available very shortly, this will be rectified. So that's one of the things that we really like about dealing with Midea. If you go back to them with some advice or suggestions of how the unit could be improved, they instantly take them on and react very quickly. So once we get the cover off the unit, you can see the main printed circuit board with all the terminal blocks here that the electrician is going to wire controllers, pumps, etc. to, and the power here. There's a very prominent sticker here reminding us that we need to remove some transit bolts off the unit. So when the unit's built in the factory, they bolt the compressor down to look after it and make sure it's delivered to you in good condition. It's another kind of quality feature we like about the unit and engineers thinking about how to make the unit well. Behind this, if you move it out the way, you can see we have an 8-meter pump, which is inverter driven, and every one of the Midea units comes with an expansion vessel inside. Lots of the components you'd normally fit in the house are already inside the box. So as I mentioned before, there is a transit bracket on the compressor, so you whip off this cover here. It's the only reason you need to take this cover off, and then you lift up the jacket, undo the 2 screws, and remove this. If you don't remove it, it makes the unit very noisy, so it's very easy to detect if it's been forgotten. So as an engineer, my first concern when I looked at this single fan is we've got to get all of the air through this hole, and that potentially could be noisy. And again, the guys at Midea have done a lot of work on this and made this very clever fan blade. So if you look carefully, you can see there's a scallop shape cut out of the blade. And this is done deliberately to keep the sound down. And one of the things we find really impressive when these units are working, especially in very cold weather, is just how quiet they are. If you look on YouTube, there's some really good videos of people running them, with ice around and dropping pins on them and recording just how quiet. It really is quite an impressive sound level from this machine. So quite often we get asked, what's the quality and build quality like of the Midea unit? And for me, there's 2 really big things about build quality. The first is noise. You can't hide noise. It's very easy to spot, and we've already discussed how quiet this machine is. But the other one is, when you take the lids off, are the edges sharp? So on cheap units, you tend to get very sharp edges and cut your fingers. But these are beautifully finished, very, very heavy grade steel, even to the extent on the lids that they double over the metal, and you can see it's folded over here for extra strength, which means that this will last for years with no problem at all. So yes, the Midea unit comes with all the features you'd expect, weather compensation, 2-zone control, Legionella protection, quiet modes, etc. So everything that all the major brands include in their units come with this as well. But one of the things that we really like about this machine is the remote controller is very, very simple to understand. It's been written again for engineers, so it doesn't use fault codes. It tells you what's wrong. For instance, your flow rate is low, your temperature sensor has failed, so anybody can understand it nice and easily. And Midea as a company seem to be very open to access to their machine. So we have a controller that we put onto this machine using Modbus, and Midea have given us all of the access codes for Modbus. So we're able to drive the machine, turn the temperature up, down, on, off, hot water on, etc. very, very simply. So the unit comes with an automatic air vent here, and it also comes with an emergency flow switch just in case there's any blockages, and a 3-bar pressure relief valve here which discharges off outside. So for the installation engineer, our pipework connects onto here, and we give you some nice little fittings which go onto here with flexible hoses. You have your drain here from your pressure relief, and the electrician comes round here and puts cables through here. So what is really nice about this unit, you don't drill any holes, the holes are drilled, and it has grommets for you, so it won't rust. One of the big questions in heat pumps at the moment is, can you connect this to the internet or the Internet of Things? And of course, Midea give us the option with Wi-Fi control, so you can turn the unit on, off, etc. and get a small amount of data out of it. But using the Freedom Heat Pump's Modbus connection, we've written a nice simple app where you can give this to the homeowner. They very simply connect to the unit. They can turn it on, off, time clock, etc. But more importantly, if something goes wrong with the unit, we have a little function where if they press a button, the data from this machine is instantly sent to us back at Freedom HQ, and we can give the system a very simple health check without leaving our desks. So it makes the unit very accessible, easy to fix, cuts down on site visits, and really reassures your homeowner that what they've got here is a well-installed, well-made, quality product. When we're talking about quality of manufacturer, this is one of the features we really liked. There's no real need to protect the coil to this level, but Midea have gone to the trouble of putting an extra cover over the coil for transit. So when you undo the tape and pull it off, you can see underneath that none of the coil has any bruising on. And this is just an example of how well built this machine really is. You can see that we're excited by the Midea units. If you'd like to get involved with the product, please contact us at Freedom Heat Pumps today.